This is your Global Business Report this Wednesday, the 6th of January. Nigeria's real estate sector has been in recession since the third quarter of 2019. The latest real estate GDP figures from the second quarter of last year showed a contraction of a whopping 22%. But is the hope of a recovery? In the new year, 2021, an interesting development in the short-let rental sector show an increase during the Yuletide season. Short-let or short-stay rentals are apartments that offer an alternative to established hotels. The average price of a one-bedroom short-let apartment in Lagos is 35,000 naira per day, with some of the more expensive flats going for 80,000 naira per day. Joining us to make sense of this is Nosike Nwajide, analyst at Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Good morning, Nosike. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Bosun. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. It's good to have you here. Why is the real estate sector continuing to struggle?
A one-word answer would be dwindling, or one-phrase answer would be dwindling disposable income. In your when you were speaking earlier, you said that the sector has been in recession since the first quarter of 2019. Actually, the sector has been in contraction territory since the recession of 2016, and average contraction at about 5% per annum over that period since 2016. That's getting to 5 years. The recession of 2016 and the impact of the recession, obviously the job losses, a lot of people lost their jobs, and when you lose your job, there's uncertainty about spending. So if you can move to lower, cheaper accommodation, you move. If you wanted to purchase a home, you would, lay back on more or bigger expenses, so to speak, like cars and homes and all of that. So dwindling disposable income is the main culprit. As we know, Nigeria's population continues to grow. GDP has failed to. Over the past 5 years, we had a recession. We recovered from the recession, and we're in another recession. And disposable income over that period has declined. Per capita income has declined. Disposable income has declined as well. The real estate sector is a lagging indicator, meaning that it's reflective of GDP growth. If you have improved growth to 2-3% that is sustainable over a period, then consumer disposable income will pick up, and the real estate sector will reflect that rise in consumer disposable income. But another thing is when investment in the sector has been slowed down by that lower disposable income, because if you're an investor who's built a house and hoping to earn rent, and rents are not coming in as previously envisaged, you would slow down on future investments. So that's also stifled investments into the sector. It all comes down to as at the moment, about 50% of Nigerians are supposedly living in poverty. And if you have that many people, and poverty is supposedly on the increase as well. If you have that many people falling into poverty, have fallen disposable incomes, it would reinforce the slowdown of the real estate sector. So that's what's been going on over the past 4 or 5 years.
I completely agree with you. If you're looking at the U.S. economy, it's one of the most important indicators, the new home sales, real estate, and all of that indicator. Once you get that, you have a sense that folks seem to be doing well. Mm-hmm. So here we have the Buhari's administration planning to support 1.5 million Nigerians to acquire low-cost housing under the social housing program of the Economic Sustainability Plan. And I'm sure a few days ago you must have seen those images as was flagged off by Mr. Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo himself. Do you think these spending efforts can improve matters in the real estate sector, one-bedroom, two-bedroom, quickly made building? Do you think this is the way to go?
I think the effort by the federal government is laudable. It's something that even state governments should to try and copy or emulate. Spending the government wants to spend about 200 billion naira building 300,000 houses across the 6 geopolitical zones. Nigeria's housing deficit is about 15 million. So 300,000 comes down to about 2%. So even if you spend the entire budget of, for you to bridge that gap, you need to spend the entire budget of 2020 to, make some impact. At the moment, if you want to, the major constraint to the real estate sector basically is funding for the private sector. If you can sort out funding, then other things would other reforms would follow suit, like regulation on land. And obviously there's the weak macro environment, there's high inflation, there's the exchange rates instability that's seeing the cost of production or cost of construction go up. But if you can have strengthening our mortgage institutions to be able to give long-term loans, cheap loans at longer tenors, much longer tenors than they currently do, then you have people able to take loans and build houses. You have build houses that they would pay back in the longer term. But at the moment, I mean, the government's efforts are laudable. If we saw increased efforts on the part of state governments, it would be welcome. At the moment, incentivizing the private sector is the way to go. If you are unable to do that, you will be unable to churn out housing that is affordable to most Nigerians.
I agree with you. If the federal government is leading by the front, I think the subnationals or states should also say, look, we are doing across each state of the federation, maybe 100,000. If you multiply that by 36 states and the FCT, we'll be talking about millions and millions here. So I guess that's one point we need to focus on as well. But what else was behind the increase in the short-stay apartments during the Yuletide season?
Obviously, the Yuletide season comes with an influx of returnee Nigerians. And at the moment, if you have these short-let apartments that offers you the comfort of a home away from home at the same price of your typical hotel, and gives you the efficiency of hotel services, it's almost a no-brainer. There's obviously more security than most hotels around. And if you given that there's COVID, and some people would want to isolate for 2 weeks, minimum of 2 weeks, you'd rather isolate in a home away from home rather than the limited space that the hotels offer, and at the same price. So there's the security, there's safety, there's location. Some of them are located in highbrow areas and estates that are safe and secure. So there's increased security. There's the space. Space is probably the major attraction. I mean, if you have the space of 1-2 bedroom flat as opposed to just a single room, I think it's a no-brainer, and that's the logic behind the shift of the increased demand over the Yuletide. It remains to be seen if this increased demand for that sort of accommodation the demand will be sustained in the longer term.
So does that mean that the hotels will remain in a very tight spot in the new year?
Well, the hotel industry was one of the hardest hit from the from the fallout of COVID-19. And a lot of people are still wary of public gatherings and going to those sorts of places. But with the emergence of a vaccine, it's also uncertain when we would have the vaccine come to Nigeria. But with the emergence of a vaccine, it improves the outlook for the hotel industry. We have we're in the thick of a second wave of COVID-19. We're seeing increased number of confirmed cases, and remains to be seen if the government will take steps to restrict movements and people going to hotels, banning restaurants or public gatherings. That would really severely impact the hotel business in the months to come. But with the emergence of a vaccine, it's light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Nosike, do you think commercial office space properties have now turned a major corner moving forward, with more people working from home and with the virus looking like it's not going away from us anytime soon?
Commercial real estate have been one of the biggest losers, so to speak, from the fallout of COVID-19, with a lot of companies insisting that their staff work from home with the use of technology for video conferencing, as well of that. A lot of offices when their current rents expire, will have trouble attracting tenants in the future. So they would need to come to concessions with tenants. They will need to maybe significantly lower their current rates and have some maybe flexible payment plans to attract new tenants or retain the old ones, because with working from home, with more use of technology, companies are beginning to shift more and more to that direction, and in the longer term, it's a huge cost saving. So more and more companies will be looking for ways to have smaller office spaces and their staff working from home. So it's a significant blow to commercial real estate, and the commercial real estate business will need to fashion out a way around this. We need to ride the tide and look for ways to come up with concessions and flexible payment plans to attract more business, I presume.
It's a whole lot of what we don't know out there based on what we know today. Thank you so much, Nosike Nwajide from Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Have a great Wednesday and enjoy the rest of your week.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.